What is poppin', people, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be on line work and how to improve your line work following these 5 simple yet effective tips what I'm going to give you. But before we start that, I'd just like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope in this year of shit that you did find some joy and some happiness at Christmas. Just something to make this whole year a lot more worth it. But guys, roll that intro. I've been in the waters. So guys, tip number 1 would be to run off the tube. Now, running off the tube is setting your needle depth to the tube, so you can place that whole tip of needle and the tube on the skin and run the line down without worry of blowouts and without worry of any shake. Because that needle and that tube is resting on skin, it eliminates the shakiness in your line. It provides a lot more stability for a new tattoo artist. Now, what you may often see on any tattoo videos, anything on YouTube, or even if you get tattooed and you are watching your professional tattoo artist tattoo, is they may have a lot more of a needle throw, a needle hang. What that means is they have a lot more needle hanging out the end of the tube, and then when they line, they are controlling the depth of that needle with their hand. And not only that, but they have a lot more precision on the line. You know, they can see where their needle is going a lot more clearly than if you ran off the tube. My tip would be to get a really nice cartridge that even if you're going to run off the tube or the tip, whatever you want to call it, you can still have some great precision with it and know where you are going. Having a lot of needle throw and running off the tip of the needle and controlling the depth with your hand is a pro technique, and I really would not recommend it for any newcomers at all until you are sufficient at lining. Tip number 2. When you are lining, it is so much easier to line coming down than going across or coming back this way or coming up this way. It is so much easier to come down. So tip number 2 would be always to start at the top and pull downwards. It feels way more comfortable. Way more comfortable. Coming across feels so unnatural when you first start that it can instill a real confidence issue, because it's a lot harder to line that way. You may find that coming across, you may also get some sort of shake, or the feeling of being really uncomfortable definitely sets in if you are not used to lining that way. So line coming down whenever possible. Tip number 3, practice the line before running it. Now, I don't mean practice the line on skin. What I mean is practice the line hovering above the skin, okay, making sure that everything feels comfortable. Make sure that you can start that line and finish that line in one movement. You really don't want to start a line, get halfway through and come round and come round and come round and come round. Oh my god, I'm uncomfortable, and then boom, your line's fucked. All right, you've just moved off, you veered off your line, you veered off your stencil, and it is shit. All right, I've done it. What you can do, guys, is you can come off the line when it starts to feel uncomfortable. However, again, if you are a beginner picking up that line, if you don't know how to do it, because there is a correct way to do it, then you are going to struggle. It may look good when you initially do it, but on the heel, I promise you, you will see where you stopped that line and where you started that line, because you will have a little dot. If you are more advanced, then obviously you know what to do. But for the beginner to intermediate, or for somebody that struggles at lining, definitely start the line and finish the line, and practice starting that line and finishing the line, making sure that you can get through more than comfortable. Tip number 4, guys, would be to use bigger groupings. This is a absolute must. You must use bigger groupings when starting out as a tattoo artist if you are not confident in lines at all. a single liner and a free liner, if you use these two needles while you are new to tattooing, while you are new to lining, I promise you that you will find it way harder on yourself, and it's unnecessarily harder on yourself. If you go with bigger groupings, guys, they are a lot more forgiving. So I would start from like a 5 up, maybe even a 7. Okay, like get yourself a nice 5 or a nice tight 7. Stay away from threes, and definitely stay away from singles. Singles, you are gonna blow out everywhere if you are not careful. Threes, you are gonna see every little bit of shake. You're gonna see every little bit of discrepancy in that line. So definitely stay away from those two while you are getting used to lining. It is not good for you. It will just make your work look terrible. A 5 and a 7 and like your 9s and your 11s, stuff like that, those are all way more forgiving. Don't see the shake in the line if there is any shake. It's just a lot easier to line with a bigger grouping than it is a smaller grouping. Tip number 5, try not to sculpt a line. Now, what I mean by this is a lot of people try to build up a line, or they'll like do it like they're sketching. All right, they'll build up the line, they'll sculpt the line. Now, this is generally a confidence issue. I know about this because I used to do this, and I used to do it all the time. I just want to stress there is nothing at all wrong with sculpting. And if you prefer to sculpt a line, and that's how you feel more comfortable, then sculpt the line. However, I do believe that pulling a single pass line is a absolute fundamental of tattooing, so I believe that you do need to learn how to do it. But sculpting line comes from a confidence issue. If you are not confident on that line, say you have a circle, for example, or you have a obscure like line, or even a straight line like an arrow. Say you are tattooing an arrow, right? People look at that line, it's like, holy shit, there is just this arrow on this skin. There's nothing around it. There's nothing to hide any bad lines. You can't shade up against it. You can't do any of that. So the comfortability thing comes into it, where you'll just be like, okay, I'm not confident in doing a single pass straight line on this line. I'm just going to sculpt it. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the best thing to do. A single pass line will always look better than a sculpted line. There's just a real difference in it. So again, referring back to tip number 3, practice that line before you do it. Okay, try to stay away from sculpting lines as much as possible. There is a place for sculpting. There is a place for sculpting, but try not to do it all the time. Now, I don't know if I said 5 tips at the beginning, but I've got an extra tip for you. In fact, I've got an extra 2 tips for you. Tip number 6, having a comfortable hand speed. Now, when you're pulling a line, it's easier to, when you're going for a single pass line, obviously your machine needs to be set up correctly for your hand speed. Bloody phone. Where were I? You cannot go too slow when pulling a line. If you pull a line too slow, there's going to be chances of blowouts. Not only that, but that line is going to be super fat. Way fatter than what you are using. Also, you run the risk of overworking that line. And also, it is a lot harder to pull a neat line slow than it is fast. Now, if you're pulling a line slow and you're not confident on that line, so you'll be pulling it slow, and then it's like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. And then the longer you go on that line, the more your hand starts to shake. Okay, because it's just a mental, it's like a mental thing, it's weird. So when you're pulling a line, guys, get your machine set up, get your hand speed correct. Okay, you're on, you're gone. That is it. Okay, as soon as your needle touches that skin, okay, you need to be moving. If you put that needle on and hold that needle there, you're just going to get like a blob of pigment under that skin, and you're going to see it. So you're on, you go. So try to find a happy like balance between slow and fast and what you feel comfortable at, but don't go too slow for those issues that I've just told you about. And especially if you do go to a single liner, if you get that confident and that you're on a single liner, like I said, The risk of blowout is massive. The risk of seeing every little like shake, every little like discrepancy in the line is going to be there. So going faster on those lines to eliminate all that is, yes, do that. Number 7, confidence. This is the biggest thing when it comes to lining. Having the confidence just to go on that skin and pull that line. We all have a natural shake. Like, it's just something that's with us. We can't get rid of it. But what we can do is come in with confidence that we are going to pull that line the best that we possibly can. If you are not confident in your lining, it plays such a mental game. It just plays such a mental game with you that every line that you look at is just a massive hurdle to get over. If you look at every single line like that, all that's going to happen is you are going to start hating lining. So take these tips, run with them, and build your confidence at lining. And I promise you, out of all the tips, out of every single tip, confidence is probably the biggest, aside from the fundamentals of the actual line. But guys, that is all for today. Please go ahead and check out my other tattoo related videos. There is a playlist. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell notification to get notified every time I upload a new video. As always guys, I shall see you in the next one. Adios.